JJ's torque was if the Atlas was down towards the axis, you would count you clockwise. If it's up towards you, counterclockwise. Grostic said that didn't work. So then Grostic torqued for the spinous. And he said the inferior facet of the Atlas would spin the superior facet of the axis counterclockwise. So all the engineers said that if these structures are contiguous, if one moves one way, the other one would move the same way. So they told me it didn't work, but I still took about 5 years. Now to prove that it works, you'd have to have a spinous and give no torque and it wouldn't move, and then take the same case with torque and it would move. And I never had one incident in 5 years of doing that. And I had my instrument, I had 20 cams. I could put 1 degree torque or 30 degrees, and I never could prove one case. And so we took it out.
But you proved it when you turned the shoulder.
Yeah, now we were the first one to raise and lower the headpiece for the spinous and to turn the shoulders. And I got it in the book, this seminar of about 4 spinuses that turned perfect for us. So the spinuses are not a problem for us, because we're going to, as you laterally flex to the right, the spinous turns to the left whether you want it to or not. So on your side, if the spinous is towards the ceiling, we laterally flex, and if it's towards the floor, we laterally flex. We lower it down so it turns up. And so I tell the story, I named my dog Torque. I pat my dog on the head and say, Torque, how does that work? And I've never had one demonstrated.
No.
Now I know how you do it. Your arms are 3 and 9, that's no torque. Now you go to 2 and 8 and you count, that's clockwise. Now you go to 4 and 10 and that's counter. I know all of that, we taught it. But I'm telling you, we threw it away.
And then later on, I think there was some research done that any torque is dissipated in the tissues along the skin.
So we took it out.
I don't remember who did that.
So we took it out of our instrument.
Yeah. But it sounds like Grostic, this research, I think it only goes back in the last 20 years. Sounds like Grostic worked it out years ago.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't like to run Grostic down any, but his torque didn't work. But everything else was good, but at the same time, I've never... We had a board of directors. We put all the 5 doctors on the board of directors, except the Nuka guy. And so
Gregory?
Gregory. I called Gregory and asked him if he would come to Atlanta and teach the Grostic programs with us. And he said no, he wanted to start his own program.
Right.
But I put Mrs. Grostic on our board of directors because we were using their name. So we did that for a number of years, and then John David Grostic, the son, graduated from Palmer. So he came, and he came, and we put him on our board of directors. And we were doing pretty good for a number of years. And then Palmer College called John David Grostic and asked him to come to Palmer and teach the Grostic work. Well, we thought that was great, but when he left, he withdrew from our program, from being a director. Well, when he withdrew, Mrs. Grostic withdrew. So I said, we can't present something with no member of the family supporting us. And it turned out right, because Sid Williams was wanting to call Life Grostic.
Oh.
And they refused, and matter of fact, she left the college she was teaching. So they wouldn't support Sid, and I knew they wouldn't support us. So then I went and hired a librarian and a lawyer, and I said, we got to have a new name. And I was trying to decide if it should be a neurological name or an osteological name. And I said, we're straightening the spine, so we should call it orthospinology. So we created that, and I was president of it. And then we had 5 directors with no Grostic people in there. And we were teaching hand adjusting. So then I said I want to design an instrument that would do the same thing as hand adjusting, and I wanted the orthospinology program to teach hand and instruments. And 3 out of the 5 doctors, and this was before any instruments were, they said, no, chiropractic is by hand only and we don't want to teach instruments. So I said, well, if you don't want to teach instruments, I'm going to resign. So anyway, what happened was three out of the 5 voted not to teach instruments. So I resigned. This is 1980 now.
80.
80. So I resigned, and then they didn't seem to mind that at all. And so then I said, I'm going to teach instruments and not teach hand. But the good part is, the 3 that voted against me, all 3 ended up using instruments. Now 2 of them use our instrument, and one of them, Jim McAlpine, not Jim and Bobby Smith, use our instrument. Ken Humber uses Laney's hand instrument. So
which is mechanical.
Yeah. It drives. It's a staple machine, and it drives hard metal staple into hard wood. Now the guy that did that, this is not part of the story, but it is included. He went down to Sears Roebuck and bought a staple machine, and he then put a stylus tip on it, and was using that. Now he and I were friends. Oh, we still are. He did die, but nevertheless, I was going to Birmingham like once a month, and he'd come to Atlanta, and we were trying to decide. And he even offered me the hand instrument. He said, you're putting seminars on, you're welcome to claim this, or you take it. And I said, no, I want to have a table model instrument. We were good friends. And so.
Who was that?
Cecil Laney.
Oh, Laney.
Yeah. And so what was happening, we were both trying to develop an instrument, but he developed a hand one, and then I said, no, I want the table model one. So what happened was, we then, I resigned, and I said, I'm not going to teach hand anymore. And so those 3 guys all ended up, so it's pretty nice. Now Tom Humber stayed with me, and he bought our first instrument.
Yeah.
So he was on our first board. So then we had my friend Dave Armisen, when from the orthospinology group. He came in and was president of the orthospinology group for a while, and then he withdrew and went with us on our orthogonal program. And so they kept the program going, the orthospinology, and we had a torque issue that I took torque out of our instrument. Now when you use torque, this pisiform has to turn some. So our torque instrument would turn. So Laney designed his instrument, and then he asked me to come look at it, and I did. And he had torque in his, and they still claim torque, is my understanding. Now, I asked Laney, I said, does a stylus spin? And he said, no. I said, well, how do you get torque in there? He said, when we hit back of the stylus, we're spinning when we hit it. And I said, that's enough explanation for me. And so, but now his instrument has excursion. Now, he even paid me a compliment, and I always said 90 degrees is the greatest possible advantage on a lever arm. In other words, if you're going to push this down, 90 degrees pushes it better, but it's an inch inside the skin, and we can't get to 90, so we can only get to 30. So Laney then said his instrument goes in and down.
Oh.
And he said, I got the idea from you that we should go down. I said, well, it's an inch, you can't get in on top of it. But I got no argument and I got no problem. And in our program, you never adjust twice, you adjust once and examine them. Now, if it's not right, you go back and adjust it a different vector, and then you examine them again. Now, if it's not right again, you could go back and change it again, but never give more than about 3 adjustments at one time. And if it's not right, tell the patient, that's all I want to do today. We'll work on it next visit. But at the same time, I did have, and this isn't hearsay, I had one of the patients come in from one of the orthospinology person, and she did tell me, said they clicked it about 12 times. And so, but I got no argument with that. They're saying Laney is the leader of their group now.
Ortho?
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's fine by me.
But they've got a table instrument too now.
Huh?
Yeah, they have a table.
They've got a table instrument as well now.
Yeah, the orthospinology people. They got Laney's instrument.
Yeah.
Table instrument, and he got his handheld instrument.
Right.
Now, most of them use the handheld.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how many, I've never seen a video of them using Laney's table instrument, so I don't know if they repeat that also.
You began 1980 on your own?
Yeah, I left alone. Then I said I'll never have another board of directors. So be careful if you're starting a company, and be careful who you put on the board of directors. We say put your wife on it if she likes you, put your preacher on it, and put your lawyer on it. But at the same time, be careful who you put on there. You can get voted off.
Well, that's what happened to Steve Jobs.
Yeah, you can get voted off if you put too many directors on there. But anyway, we welcome them. Now we do say they are the closest allies we have. They use Grostik's X-ray analysis, and they use an instrument. Now the next closest ally we say are the NUCA people. Now we claim them; they don't claim us too often. But at the same time, they use Grostik analysis, but they are hand adjusting. And this is Tom Humber and me, and this is a guy named Craven.
Yeah.
Now this guy here, him and his brother were big Grostik people, but he wasn't in on our board. So this is 4 out of 5.
Continued on that board.
Was on our board, and then I put my brother-in-law on the board.
Who's that?
Bobby Smith, and you won't believe that. Of the 3 that voted against hand instruments, he was one of them. So I said I'll never put another relative on the board of directors. But he did end up using our instrument.
Right.
And then Jim McAlpine voted against me, and he ended up using our instrument. And then the other guy, Ken Humber, ended up using the handheld instrument.
Good morning.
Who said that? Right there.
You could bring his head up. So I took it out there, and the atlas was pointing down. And for me to take the front,
All right. Have him sit up in a chair.
no problem.
All right, come on and let's do that. Are you a full-blooded polar bear? And the daddy said, yeah, why are you asking that? He said, because I'm freezing to death.
I'm still asleep.
That's it. Rest up.
Okay, she comes short on the left, and I think it's short a little bit.
All right. Don't tell me. I'll have a look. Oh well, it's definitely a quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agree? Yeah.
Okay. All right, Tina, I want you to sit up and face the door. Okay. It's pretty sore.
Mm-hmm.
focused on is the reason for the short leg is because the control center up at your upper cervical region was offline, causing the misfiring of the nerves going from the brain down to the body, affecting your paraspinal musculature all the way down the spinal canal through the pelvis, causing the appearance of a short leg.
That is.
I can't help it. I mean, this is it. That's all I have to say. It's not hard.
KISS.
Have you ever
It's
heard?
not really. Is it that complicated for you to understand? You're a doctor,
Well,
for God's
well,
darn
it's a
sakes.
lot
This
of
is
double
simple.
talk. It's double talk.
It's not double talk.
Have you ever heard of the body's center of gravity?
Yes.
That when the head is tilted, later don't let you hit your head walking down the wall, it shifts your pelvis over.
Okay. Well,
and when
then
it
just
shifts
say
the
that.
pelvis over, the leg is short.
Perfect.
Okay, so a right atlas should be a left short leg. And if your head's leaning this way, then the left atlas should
That's
have a
what
right
I
short
like.
leg.
Then it's about the head and up here again.
No, it ain't
Not about the short leg.
Yeah, but you're saying it's about the brain.
Oh, I meant here control. The control center of the universe is right here.
Houston control.